You have to be confident, you have to be super driven, and you have to be able to create a vision.
Yeah.
And that's the hardest thing of all. Digital marketing is incredible. I love it. I can't imagine myself running a company at a time where the internet doesn't exist. As an entrepreneur, if you don't have clarity on the boundaries, work can easily take over your entire day, your entire life.
All right, so welcome to Attomic Marketing Podcast. I'm here with Leo Popik. That's how we pronounce it in English?
Yeah, or Leo.
Oh, Leo. Yeah, that's true. Leo, we're used to speaking Spanish, so this is the first time talking in English between you and I. And I'm very excited to have you because I consider you a person that knows a lot about the stuff we're going to talk about today. That is CEOs, marketing, having a business, running businesses. So why don't you tell us about yourself and how did you come here to where you are right now nowadays?
Well, I'm very excited to be with you, Valentino, as well. I've known you for a few years. Your dad is a very close friend of mine, great guy, and a member of Leading Peers. And your mom's also phenomenal. So we've known each other as family, friends, and you've grown and blossomed. And it's incredible, the quality of the work that you do, which I've known from several people that work with you. How did I end up here in Leading Peers? My backstory is kind of grew up very entrepreneurial. You know, I've always been into how do I generate something of value to people that makes me some money from a very young age. I guess my parents were never opposed to me having a way to make income. So I was always out and about, you know, finding ways to do that. And as I grew up, I started different things that were nonprofit, had different experiences in life, government, think tanks. And then I went back to sort of my first love, which was starting companies, you know, which I did from a very young age. And that took me to have different businesses in different industries, even in different countries. And I've been very fortunate to be able to ride this wave of 21 straight years as an entrepreneur. And the last reinvention of my career was when COVID hit in 2020. When I found myself not being able to continue with what I had been doing for a long time, which is organizing international corporate events, not as a meeting planner myself, but as a CEO of a company that had 45 full-time people who were doing that throughout Latin America for US corporations, for corporations from around the world. So with COVID putting that on a standstill, I had to reinvent myself because I was 46, I'm 51 now. So you know, I still had 3 little kids. I still have 3 little kids. I think of them as such, although my middle child's turning 13. So I now have 2 teenage daughters. And I had to think about, you know, staying active. I mean, I want to stay active and working and contributing until my last breath, you know, and I hope to live to over 100 with good health. So I'm you know, I had to reinvent myself to find something of great passion. Although corporate events was something I loved, and I loved international corporate events, 2020 gave me an opportunity to stop, pause, think about what I most wanted to do in this new chapter of my life, however long it may be, 5 years, 10 years, 30 years, maybe till the very end. And I realized I wanted to help leaders. I wanted to help business leaders. I wanted to help entrepreneurs. And the reason I wanted to help, especially entrepreneurs and CEOs, is because I love being an entrepreneur. Okay. I love being a CEO. And so I knew I could add a lot of value to people who were in that position because it's such an amazing and thrilling ride. And if you're not careful, you know, you can easily fall off, you know, the guardrails.
Yeah. See, being a CEO or a founder or an entrepreneur, as you said it before, I think it's a very risky thing because you take a lot of risk, but you also have a lot of control. So it's very hard, I guess, to be a CEO. I've been doing a little bit of that these last years of my life. But what is it exactly to be a CEO? Like, what would you say motivates someone to be a CEO?
I think first of all, you have to really be confident in yourself. You know, if you don't have confidence in your ability to achieve things, wrong role, very wrong role, because nobody's going to be managing you. You're going to be in charge. And that's scary.
Yeah.
So you have to be very confident. first and foremost, that you can get things done. Secondly, you have to be very driven. Companies are either growing or they're dying. Nothing stays still in this life. Everything that's made up of living organisms is evolving constantly. So if you're not working to grow, you're going in the other direction. Nothing stays still. And nothing lasts forever in the living world, in this earth. So you have got to make every day count, because you don't know if it's your last. And you have to build something great for the future at the same time as you're living the present, which is all you know for sure that you have. So you have to balance that. So bringing it down, because that's pretty philosophical, you have to be confident, you have to be super driven, and you have to be able to create a vision.
Yeah.
And that's the hardest thing of all, because there's a lot of confident people in the world. There's maybe some people are overconfident. There's a lot of people who are driven. Again, some people are driving themselves to death. They're grinding, but they don't have the vision. And the vision is where brilliance comes into play. Your ability, your imagination, your ability to formulate a strategy, to see how you fit in the context of everything that already exists. Because you can't create more of the same and expect for people to say, "Oh, wow, this is new and exciting." So, vision.
Well, it's very interesting, because I always think, like, when you are starting on a new journey of your life, as you did in 2020, as I've been doing these last years, because I'm taking more into the adult life. It's a question that I always ask myself: should I be the CEO or the director of of a company, of a business, a project, or should I delegate that to someone else and just work and have a more maybe constant life, knowing that every month I have a specific paycheck and everything like that? And I think it's very, very, the people that choose to go through that route have a specific, like they are okay with risk sometimes, right? And with adrenaline that it takes. And when I see CEOs and founders, I direct films, and when you do those type of things in which you have vision, as you said before, the vision is very important, because you are directing people, delegating actions, so you have to have a vision so you can guide them. There are many areas to focus on. So what should a CEO focus more, or needs to focus more, to lead effectively?
Well, it depends what stage your business is in, right? I mean, startup stage is one thing, and as the business grows and matures, it evolves. It depends on the size of the company as well, because when you start, you're on your own usually. You might have a business partner, you might be able to hire an assistant, but you have to do everything. Yeah. I mean, there's no other possibility than to do everything. You can't have a company and say, I'm only going to do this one thing if you're starting out. You have to have operations, because if a client finally decides to buy your business, buy what you're selling, you have to provide it. But you have to do marketing in order to have a client in the first place. And you have to have sales in order to close that lead. And you have to have finance, because you have to invoice and you have to pay. So when you start, you have to wear every single hat. And one of the hardest things as companies grow is that CEOs have to be able to envision how those hats come off their head and they pass it on to other people.
Okay.
So eventually, they just have the CEO hat of a large company. But in that transition, that's where a lot of CEOs get lost, because you're constantly making changes. I mean, it's constant work. And I really mean that. And sometimes you're not hiring somebody full-time to take on marketing, for example. You're hiring an agency. So you still have to do some of the chief marketing officer role while you have the agency, or you hire a bookkeeper, but you're still doing the CFO role and you have a bookkeeper in your team. And so it's not like you let go of an entire department. You let go of specific roles. So you have to be able to envision what your org chart, your organizational chart looks like, and how you fit into that. And as the company grows, you have to be able to make those changes to the thing. So in response to your question of what do you focus on, it changes every time. It changes by business. So it's not easy to answer that question.
I like that organizational chart image that you created in my mind when you said it, because you would have the organizational chart. You would be in charge of all of the little dots in the chart, we can say, and then you, as you said it before, you would start replacing the ones at the bottom and then going up from that, maybe depending on department. And would you say that it depends on the CEO where that starts, replacing the hats starts, or it's usually takes the same route for most of the companies in your experience?
There is no right track. Some companies actually don't start with delegating the bottom roles. They find a business partner to do one of the top roles, and one of the partners is going to take care of sales and marketing. Sometimes an entrepreneur doesn't have a business partner, but they find somebody who's brilliant to run an area and they can afford them, and they hire them. And sometimes they can't afford them full time, but they can afford them on a part-time basis or a fractional basis.
Yeah.
So they hire that fractional person to provide the leadership over an area, even though they're not full time.
So there are many ways.
There's so many ways.
That's the difficult part, because there's no work, there's no book that says, okay, do this, then this, then this. Every company, every context, every country. So it depends in many, many factors that you would have to choose and be the one with the vision to know what's the next step, right?
100%.
And what about the rise of the digital marketing and remote work environments? Now, after 2020, as you said it before, it was a moment of change, and remote work has changed a lot of the landscape of business and also digital marketing, because every company now is focusing on digital. What would you say a CEO, what's the role of the CEO now with the new changes? Have you experienced any pattern?
So again, and I don't like to say that it depends on the business, and it depends, what industry you're in, what you're providing, and what stage you're in, but that's the honest answer. Digital marketing is hugely important in some industries, completely irrelevant in others. If you are a plumber and your company provides plumbing services and you're getting all your business from referrals, from word of mouth of clients, and you're happy with the amount of business that you have, your business doesn't need digital marketing. It might need to have a website.
Yeah.
I mean, it could benefit. Every business can benefit from a website, or 99.99% of businesses benefit from a website. The exception is hard to find, and it does exist, but it's hard to find. But does that plumber really need more than just having a website or maybe a business card? No.
Okay, so yeah, I what I like to say about websites is the new stores on the streets from before. Now
it's a storefront.
I think you have to have it. As you said before, 99.9. Of course, if you have a lot of referrals, maybe you don't need it, but it's always good to have.
The only exception is the person who doesn't want to be seen doing something. Maybe because they have a job and they don't want the website to be out there, or maybe because they're here in the U.S. with their spouse's, green card, and they can't be shown to be having their own company. So unless you have a reason to hide that you have a company, it's always better to have a website. And if you're going to do it, it's always important to invest and do it right, do it professionally. So that's the bare minimum that anybody that wants to attract business and can show that they have their own business needs to have. But from then on, it really depends. Email marketing, social media. Which social media channel, what to do with each channel. Some people are just posting. Some people are just sending messages through social media. Some people are buying ads. And it really varies. I've seen entrepreneurs blow a lot of money on ads and not get anything out of it. I've seen others that really require that ad spend in order to keep their business going. And it does provide an ROI. So, to say you have to do this or you have to do that, that doesn't make any sense. I do think that you have to have a good marketing strategy, and it basically varies on what you do, what your service is, what you can afford to have. And for instance, your business has a podcast.
Yeah.
Now you're gifted in this area. You've had a podcast before launching it for your business, for the movie podcast that you have. So for you, it's easy to put that together.
Yeah.
There are businesses that are way further along than yours, larger than yours, and they say we can't afford to have a podcast. Yeah. So it really varies on what can we execute well? What do we have the resources to execute well? Because if you're aspiring for excellence, you don't want to do anything in a way that doesn't represent your brand well. So it's better sometimes to do less things, but do them right. Less is more. And so it's better to have a great website than to have, a bad website and bad newsletters going out.
Yeah.
So you have to focus your resources as well.
That makes a lot of sense. Yeah. And you're saying, of course, and it makes a lot of sense that it depends every area, finance, operations, marketing. But I think marketing is well, it's the one I am more interested about, and the podcast is about. But I think it's interesting because, I don't know, for example, most businesses, the huge businesses, don't even, for example, they delegate operations, they delegate everything. For example, I don't know if delegate would be the word, but Apple manufacturers in China to another businesses, and the best things they've done is marketing, because they have this huge brand. We can say branding also, marketing and branding, that they can sell mostly, whatever, but they have this leverage because of the brand they have. How the Nike example that everybody says, like a white t-shirt and it says Nike is way expensive. So marketing, it's a very strong thing to get more clients, to get more sales, to grow your business. So marketing is, as you said before, to get new clients. So how do you think the CEO would closely need to be connecting to the marketing? I know it depends, but would you say marketing is one of the areas in which the CEO would have, with his vision, also a little more of control compared to other areas?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And as the business grows, it's one of the areas that the CEO cannot get out of. It's one of the areas that's harder for the CEO to kind of move away from, because the CEO is always the face of the company.
Yeah.
That already makes the CEO somebody who has to understand the marketing strategy of the company. And at most, a company can have one visible person in the world. I mean, of course, you could argue that that's not true, but come on, Apple. Name 5 people in Apple, the most valuable company in the world. You're going to name Steve Jobs and maybe Tim Cook. That's it. One person.
Yeah.
We didn't know Tim Cook while Steve Jobs was around, and now young kids don't know who Steve Jobs is. So they only know one person in Apple. So how do you expect your smaller company, less valuable than Apple's $3 trillion valuation, how do you expect it to have several people that are known in the marketplace? You're lucky if you get one person.
Mm-hmm.
And so the CEO needs to be it, because why are people going to listen to the one who's not ultimately in charge of the organization?
The face of the company, right?
The one, why would they listen to somebody who's not the visionary, the chief strategist, the last person where the buck stops with them? So the CEO has to be that person that's out there promoting the company. And therefore, you need to understand the marketing strategy. And here's the other part of it is, as the CEO, it is also your job to get the marketing strategy right. I mean, of course, you need to surround yourself with marketers, professional marketers who know more than you in that area. That's absolutely key in any area. And marketing is no exception. You've got to have a great chief marketing officer when you can afford one. At the beginning, it's you. Eventually, you have to have that. Whether it's full-time, part-time, you have to have a great CMO. And then you have to have a great team underneath the CMO to execute.
Yeah.
These are full-time team, agencies, contractors, remote, doesn't matter. You have to have a great team to execute the strategy. Now, the CEO has to be able to work with the CMO on the marketing strategy, because the CEO says, here's where we're going. That's the vision. And then the CMO translates that into KPIs that need to be hit in the next 3, 6, and 12 months. And that's a conversation with the CEO where the CMO says, hey, based on where you want to go, here are the KPIs that I'm going to be focused on. And the CEO might say, oh, that's more than I thought you were going to be able to achieve. Or the CEO might say, we need higher. We need better results than that in the next 3, 6 to 12 months. So there is a negotiation that happens there. Call it negotiation, but essentially it's let's come to a consensus.
Yeah.
It has to be a consensus, right? But it does start with, this is my point of view and the other person's point of view. And then let's discuss, why do you think this is what we should strive for? Why do you think we can achieve this? And then finally, when that becomes a strategy that they both sign off on, you don't have to sign a paper, but they agree on, then the CMO can go to work and direct the troops in marketing. But the CEO was involved in creating that strategy, because the CEO understands the rest of the company better than the CMO understands the rest of the company.
Yeah.
The CMO should collaborate with other departments, but the CEO actually is meeting with the heads of the other departments, saying to them, this is what we need to achieve, and listening to them and coming to a consensus on what they can achieve. So the CEO needs to translate that to the CMO as, here's what you can expect us to be able to provide you with. So for instance, if finance doesn't have resources to put into marketing, the CEO needs to be able to communicate that to his head of marketing.
Yeah. Yeah, it's very interesting. And also you said right now that the CEO knows, of course, more the company in general than the marketing, the CMO, right? And there's a discussion that sometimes happens in the marketing community that says, okay, if you have a great product, it will sell itself because it's so great, people will refer it and everything. And some people say you can sell whatever with good marketing. You can sell this hat, you can sell it with good marketing, you can sell. So I always think it's a balance. You have to have a great product because if not, people are not gonna come back and they're gonna do bad referrals. And also you have to have marketing because if you have the great product, but if nobody knows about it, it's very, very nonsense. So the CEO also, it's in charge of also having a good product because he's the one with the vision. So I think it makes a lot of sense for the CEO to be also in charge with the CMO of the marketing because he knows how to make the good product, and because he also talks with the operations, with the finance, and then the marketing. So it makes a lot of sense. Going more into the digital marketing area.
Sorry, can I chime in on that?
Yes, of course.
So I agree, both things are equally crucial, right? If I had to pick which of the two is more important, I would say that once you've defined the vision that your product or service has a reason for existing in the market, the product is more important, because if it's not good, nobody should buy it in the first place. And if they do, nobody should come back and buy it again or refer it. Mm-hmm. So the product is how you make a difference. And I think as a business, we exist to make a difference. It's like human beings. Marketing is how you sell yourself and attract others. And product is who you are. Your character.
Yeah.
And so the main thing to focus on is your character, what you stand for, what you're going to be about, what your core values are. But if you don't want to attract anybody, if you don't cry for your mother to feed you when you're a little boy, you die. Mm-hmm. So throughout our lives, we have to attract attention to ourselves in order to survive and thrive.
Yeah.
Now, you cannot forget your marketing at any moment. I mean, the product can be great, but if you want to grow your company, you have to be focused on the market. How is the market changing? How is it shifting? How is technology making it possible to do things that didn't exist before? And how do you use that in your marketing, but also adapt your product to what the market is saying that they need your product to do, mm-hmm. And improve your offering based on what the market is expecting or wanting, or what you think your client will value. And that's marketing. So, of course, super crucial. But marketing combined with sales is as important as operations. Marketing alone, no. Mm-hmm. Because you have to close that sale. So marketing generates the leads and then sales closes them. Marketing generates referrals, sales closes the referral into a client. That piece is actually what comes first when combined. Because if you don't have a customer, you can't try your product, you can't get feedback, you can't get money in, nothing flows. But marketing alone, less important than product. Marketing combined with sales is always going to be the most important thing. Because without sales, you don't have a business.
Mm-hmm. Excellent answer. I liked it. And let's go to digital marketing now. In my opinion, one of the most interesting and new ways of getting clients is through digital, through social media, websites, and everything, because we were saying before, you have to be able to afford it. So what has digital marketing that does not have the regular marketing, traditional marketing, it's a little bit cheaper. So you can get specific statistics on your ROI, how much it costs to get a lead, how much it costs to close a lead. So you can get a lot of insights of your sales and marketing efforts, and also it's way cheaper than before, because to put an ad in someone's phone is way cheaper than putting an ad billboard on the street. So for me it's very interesting, and of course, as you said before, I agree completely of course, it makes a lot of sense that it depends in the business. But what do you think about these tools, like websites, social media, advertising? Do you think a CEO should prioritize these? Of course, it depends, but what are you seeing on your leading peers communities? You see that people are doing more of that?
Digital marketing is incredible. I love it. I can't imagine myself running a company at a time where the internet doesn't exist, where we can't do digital marketing. I mean, it's so fascinating how quickly things are changing in the digital marketing world that the old way of doing things just seems so boring. So, the fact that everything has to be done in person, the fact that you need a billboard, these things seem so outdated. It makes it a lot cheaper to scale a company and a lot quicker to scale a company to have digital marketing. So I urge everybody who has a company that is a CEO to become really great at digital marketing. Now, they don't have to implement it themselves. They have to have a team, of course, as the business grows, but they have to get into it. They have to understand how it works. And the CEO needs to invest their time in understanding how it works. And it takes some work with their team and getting education from their team. And if they don't have a team, they need to be interviewing people that could potentially be on their team to ask them, what would you do? Here's my company. If I were to hire you to run my marketing, what would you do? And unless you know that you're speaking with the right marketing agency, because they understand your industry, they understand your company, they understand your vision, you should probably have conversations with many agencies until you find one that what they say really resonates with you and can help you formulate your strategy for your digital marketing. Because there's so many options.
Yeah.
It's unbelievable how many options we have nowadays. And with AI and ChatGPT, everything is changing the way we work across all of these things. So nowadays, it's not just a question of understanding what a great website would look like, what a great email newsletter would look like, how to work with social media, LinkedIn, Instagram, YouTube, Facebook, and so on, TikTok. You also need to understand this whole AI thing and how everything is evolving in all of these areas. You can write your newsletter with AI. You can write your blogs for your website with AI. You can have AI power the way you communicate with through social media. Your posts can be written by AI.
Yeah.
And this is going to change even faster in the years ahead. So a CEO has got to invest first in understanding digital marketing, then in understanding how their company's digital marketing strategy should be and how it can evolve over time. And then finally on understanding AI and how AI is transforming every aspect of their strategy. Because if not, they're not going to leverage AI, which means they're going to be doing things more expensively, slower, and worse.
Yeah. I agree completely. It makes 100% sense what you're saying. And AI, it's a great tool. We use it also for everything. So it's a great way of having operations cheaper, easier, faster, and better, as you said before. So I think it makes a lot of sense. And another thing that social media and digital marketing in general, websites, ads, and everything do for businesses is a great branding. Because, well, as you said before you had to meet in person with everybody, you have to put billboards. Now you can have video, and that video will be selling for you every day, because maybe someone gets into your video and they meet you because you talk about something on your YouTube, your website, whatever, and they get to meet you, and you didn't have to have the meeting. You can have multiple meetings at the same time with a lot of people from all over the world. So it makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, digital marketing makes it easier to scale, and you can create digital assets like the videos you were talking about, or posts that you can repurpose in all sorts of different ways, in different moments. You create a video and then you can use it year after year. If the content is evergreen, you can use it for 5 straight years, or you can use it once a month. And so the return on your investment is incredible, because you're spending time to create an incredible 1-minute video that then you can use for the next 5 years.
Yeah.
So it's incredible. I mean, when you were doing things for TV, like a TV ad, it was just for that one occasion. Now we decide how we repurpose everything we do.
Yeah. Okay, so now let's talk a little bit more about leading peers, your business. If a CEO joins leading peers today, What transformations or improvement would you hope to see in their journey over time?
Many. The first one is less loneliness being at the top. Because as soon as you can open up in a completely confidential setting, it changes your life. If you're bottling up everything inside, like all your pressures, all your vulnerabilities, all your worries, at some point it catches up to you. So there's only so much that meditation and exercise can help you create balance. We need connection. And when we have human connection with others over what we're struggling with, we feel better. And so it takes us out of that loneliness, which is the biggest killer for entrepreneurs. The second thing is clarity. Having a much more accurate, precise picture of what they need to do today and where they're going. With that, confidence. You cannot feel confident about a plan that you're not clear on. Am I even doing the right thing? Leaders do the right thing. Managers do things right. So clarity is essential for leadership, and confidence comes from clarity, doing the right thing. And I think last, accountability. Being much more accountable to themselves and to others for what they're doing and what they're achieving. I think those are the pillars. Those are the 4 pillars. So less loneliness and more connection, more support, clarity, confidence, accountability.
That's great. That's great. And what are the goals for this community in the future for Leading Peers?
Our goal is to continue expanding, be able to provide what we do throughout the country through in-person offerings. Our core offering of our membership is to be a part of a peer board, a group of 8 members who are all CEOs and who are led by a facilitator who's part of our staff. And we currently have that in different parts of Florida. We have it in 3 different counties of South Florida: Miami-Dade County, Broward County, Palm Beach County. We've just launched it in the Tampa area, a couple counties up there, Hillsborough County being one of them. We want to take that to the rest of the country, especially all the large metropolitan areas. And for people who are not in an urban area, we want them to be able to join our online boards, but we have that offering already. We started in 2020 when I created Leading Peers in 2020. We only had the online offering because we were dealing with COVID. So to this day, we have boards, peer boards that meet online. We use Zoom, and that makes it feasible for anybody in a rural area or who lives far from a city or who has a problem commuting because maybe they need to work from home. They look after other people in their home or whatever it may be. They work from their office and they have to be there because there's a warehouse and they cannot leave. Their business is not mature enough for them to be able to leave and leave somebody else in charge. So for those people, we have the online option, and we have members in several states of the United States and even abroad, countries in Latin America in particular. We have members from Argentina, from Colombia right now. We're looking to expand the number of people who we are able to help, both through the in-person and the online offering. To give you an idea of the split, we currently have 22 peer boards in Leading Peers, of which 19 are in person and 3 are online. So you're looking at 85% to 90% being in person. People, when given the option, generally prefer in person for what we do because it creates more connection. It's easier to build friendships. It's easier to have fun when you can get together through a social, through a one-to-one, get together with another member of your board. And there is a greater sense of focus in the meetings because there's less distractions when we're in the room. If somebody looks at their phone, we can all see them. If they're online, it's harder to see if somebody's being distracted. And there is also a greater sense of privacy because even though we say we're not going to record the Zoom session, you can't see what the other person is doing on their end. But when they're in the room with you, you can see everything.
And also you don't know if there's people around.
Exactly. So it is a better option if you have it. You might need to commute to a meeting, 20 minutes each way, whatever. Doesn't matter. our time in the commute can be made productive. You can listen to a podcast, you can make a phone call. So it's not time wasted. The time that you're also thinking about, what am I going to talk about? You're getting clarity on what you're going to say. When you're driving back from a meeting, you're also processing the things that you got from the meeting. So the commute is not really costly. And bringing people together in a boardroom is very inexpensive, because all of our members have access to boardrooms like this one that we're meeting in. This is in the leading peers office that we have different boardrooms that we can use. So that's the vision, is take it throughout the country and then eventually to other parts of the world.
Wow, that's great. And I'm sure you have listened to many CEOs and entrepreneurs on the different boards. Is there like a specific challenge that you can see a pattern on many CEOs, some doubts, some lack of confidence in a specific area that you can see that is one of the main things that stop CEOs or entrepreneurs from growing?
There are common things for sure. How to generate clients. I mean, business exists to generate clients. If a business is not able to generate clients, it doesn't exist. And that's a common challenge. I mean, even if people figure out how to generate clients, their offering can change sometimes. They have to try new offerings, new services, new products. So how do you generate clients for that new service or product? There's changes in the economic landscape. Maybe the industry that you targeted at the beginning is hurt by something that's happening at the moment. And so you want to pivot to a different industry. So you have to create clients in a different industry. Or maybe you're in the process of opening an office in a new part of the country or a different country altogether. You need to create clients in that. We have a lot of members who came from Latin America, since we're here in Florida, and they say, I'm really good at creating clients in Latin America. I don't know how to create clients in the US. So all these different pivots lead to that challenge of how to create clients. The second common challenge is what we talked about earlier in this interview, which is, how do you get rid of those different hats that you're wearing and bring in people to do them? Sometimes there's resistance because you're worried that you're going to make less money if you increase your payroll or if you increase your fixed costs. It's a valid concern.
Yeah.
So how do you work through that to be able to expand your team and your ability to get more things done? And we work through that a lot. There's different ways to contract help. There's part-time, there's remote, there's outsourcing to a different agency. There is having a 1099 or vendor and having a compensation scheme that doesn't necessarily involve fixed costs, but actually brings in compensation based on variable results. So we work through those challenges that are very common about the team. Also, people issues are a very common thing that we see. I'm starting to not agree with this person on my team or this business partner, or people within my team are not being able to play together well, work together well. And so discussing, is it a problem with the values, the core values of the individual doesn't align, or are they in the wrong part of the team? Do you need to transition them or transition their scheme? All these people issues are hard for CEOs to deal with just in their head. They need to bounce because they're getting an outsider's perspective, which is not emotionally involved. And they don't want to talk about it sometimes with their team because, word gets around of what they're concerned, the CEO's concerned about, or what they're seeing. And they don't want to just throw different hypotheses out there and, for everybody to go around gossiping that the CEO is considering this possibility or seeing this. And so they bring it to their advisory board or their peer board to discuss that. That's a common thing. And then the third common thing is how to avoid overwhelm. CEOs have so many things that they can do, that they can put on their plate, that it's easy for them to become work machines, to work every day of the week, every day of the year, not be able to go on vacation ever, not be able to put a pause on work when they go home, having issues at home as a consequence of that. Yeah. So how to balance work and life, and how to be more productive in their day-to-day, what to focus on, how to manage themselves better. That's a common thing. Usually we get that more from earlier stage entrepreneurs or smaller business entrepreneurs. As your business grows, it's always a sign that it's almost always a sign that the CEO has been able to evolve to manage themselves better through the transition of growth. But sometimes they're just they haven't really solved it, and they're just doing more and more work, and they're about to explode. They just don't know it. And when they share with a group, and they start getting perspectives from others, like, hey, I see you overwhelmed. Like, I see you stressed. I see you super anxious. And it's coming, from people that care about you and in a confidential setting, and you don't need to get this defensive. You start to see yourself in that light. And that's a common thing that we see among our members as well.
Okay, and on a personal level, I've heard this statement many times that says that many of the obstacles we have in our businesses tend to be related to our personal obstacles. Is there anything that you would recommend, or would you suggest to a new CEO or new entrepreneur to keep in mind when they begin to be able to do to be good with work-life balance?
Yeah, absolutely. I think as much as it's important to know when you're creating a company, when you're starting a company, what you want to do, you have to also have clarity on what you don't want to do. Like I created my boundaries statement when I started leading peers of what boundary I wasn't willing to cross. So I'm not willing to work on weekends. There has to be an incredible reason for me to work on a weekend, because that's a boundary that I set for myself. I know a member of our community that says Fridays are off and I spend it with my daughter. That's his boundary. I don't have that boundary. I have a boundary of working once I get home, which is usually, in the evening before dinner. That's where I stop working. And then I can be fully dedicated to the family. Some entrepreneurs, they go back to work after dinner, after they put their kids to sleep. And they're okay with that. But they have a boundary of not working between 5 p.m. and 8 p.m. where they're fully devoted to their family. So they can have dinner, they can prepare dinner, whatever it may be, put the kids to sleep. You need to create that definition for yourself of what your boundary is. And you need to be very clear on that. It's as important as when you're a teenager and you're told, don't do drugs. And that's a boundary. I'm not going to do drugs, or I'm not going to drink and drive. As an entrepreneur, if you don't have clarity on the boundaries, work can easily take over your entire day, your entire life. A boundary that entrepreneurs sometimes have is, I'm going to take off X number of weeks per year to go on vacation. Whether it's a trip or whether it's staying at home, but being fully on vacation, no work. That's a boundary I have for myself. Now, for some people, it might be 8 weeks out of the year. For others, it might be 1 week. But it's important to have that clarity in your boundaries. Another thing that I think is extremely important nowadays is to not multitask. When you are with your family or you're at home, do that. Don't be on your phone at the dinner table. You go out to a restaurant, don't be on your phone at the dinner table or at lunch table, whatever, or breakfast. I don't care. You're not going to be able to do that message well while your kid is speaking to you. You're going to be stressed, and you're going to be letting somebody down, so that affects your mood. So that's going to come across in the communication you said. Yeah. And it's unlikely that you can avoid distractions when you have your family around talking and you can focus on work. So it's better to find the moment to work and go all in, and then find family time and go all in. Not just family time, alone time. I think it's important for entrepreneurs to have alone time, whether it be exercise or meditation, whether it be going on walks or going on drives. I know people that go on a drive to just clear their head. But it's important to have quiet time as an entrepreneur to process.
Yeah,
I use that time a lot in my own life to go over the things I'm thankful for. And I'll think about things that are happening in that same day. For instance, I'll do that right after speaking with you. I'll say, thank you that went so well. And that's my moment to feel grateful about what I'm going through and connect to the present and connect to a state of gratitude. If you go from one activity to the next, and I'm not talking about 1 minute activities like one email to the next, but if you go from a 3.5 hour peer board meeting straight into your next call, and you don't make a time to kind of pause and process and allow yourself to be in silence, you also lose that sense of balance, because it's that time alone that allows you to remember, I need to call home. My wife had an appointment this morning with the doctor. I need to see how that went. So if you don't have that silence, you're always busy, doing. There's no way to keep tabs with everything that's important that's happening in your life. And the last thing I'll say is it's important to have clarity on your priorities in life. And I would urge every person to do it, but especially the members of our community. What comes first, what comes second, what comes third, what comes fourth? If you just kind of go about your day thinking like everything is important, then nothing is important. So if you had to choose, one thing, is it retiring with $10 million of wealth or $100 million of wealth? Is that the number one thing? If it is, that's fine. You make it that number one thing. And then you're less worried about work-life balance because that is your North Star. For most of our members, they're servant leaders. They're more focused on the difference they can make in the world, the difference they can make in other people's lives. So money is not going to be the number one thing. It'll be lower on the list, second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, even seventh. And they'll have other things that are more important, and just reminding themselves, because nobody's going to do it for them, of where the business fits in. Mm-hmm. In my life, the business fits in two different priorities. It's the money that I need to provide for sure for my family and that I want to provide for our well-being. It's also my vocation. My business is how I do something that makes a difference, that serves others. And so it fits into two different places of my priority list. And so when I work, sometimes I focus on this I'm doing to make a difference. This I'm making because I need to bring in a financial result for my personal life.
Yeah, I have a book here called Feel Good Productivity that talks about how feeling good about what you do and having fun, or try to have fun with it, makes you way more productive.
Yeah.
Because you're having fun, and there are a lot of things that book talks about. And it's crazy how you're talking about this personal and work balance, because as an entrepreneur, CEO, you have control of your time mostly. And if you don't put boundaries, that's what I learned myself also, you tend to not only damage your personal side of life, but you also damage the work, because when you're working, you're not also as good because you didn't have your leisure time the last day. So it's everything, it starts to go down. Like sometimes you say, oh, if I work more, it's going to be better because I have more. But if you don't take that, as you said before, moment to stop and think, you're going to be also damaging work. It's not only the damaging person.
100%. The best ideas come after a weekend where you've had time to just do other things. You did that puzzle at home with your family, or you went on a walk in nature, or you watched a movie that was ignited some creativity in you, or you had a dream. You just had better rest because you had more time to sleep. All these different restoration opportunities open up parts of your brain that were inaccessible when you were just focused on the grind. So it's important to have a lot of drive and a lot of intentionality about the business that you're building, and at the same time, allow yourself moments of rest, relaxation, and restoration that are not only going to be important for you to be healthy and for you to be motivated to do the work that you do and avoid, health issues, but also tap into your creative side, tap into your inspiration. And nobody can be inspired and creative when they're exhausted.
Yeah. All right. And to finish this amazing episode that has been, I think, very valuable for me and for the audience, because you have shared a lot of stories from you and from others, and a lot of insights about that. If people would like to explore more about leading peers, where should they go?
Well, they should go to our website first and foremost, leadingpeers.com. The website provides a way to get in touch with us. There's a contact form, there's an interview sign-up form. If somebody feels like I need to jump in, I need to be a part of this, it's a very organic way to become a part of Leading Peers. You fill out the interview sign-up form. You don't have to send in money. You don't have to sign in a membership agreement. We receive your details. And with that, we're able to set up an interview with the right group for you to join. So we find a peer board that's going to be best for you given our options. Because once we get to 8 members in a board, that board doesn't have seats for you.
Yeah.
Doesn't have a seat for you. So we have to look at which ones have availability of seats, which ones are in your area. If we don't have one that's in your area, we have to offer you an online peer board. So the interview sign-up form is going to give us that information. We're going to be able to go into your LinkedIn profile if you have one. We're going to be able to go into your company website. I hope you have one. And with that, we're going to get a better sense of what would be the right peer board to match you with. Ideally, we would like for you to just interview with one peer board and for there to be a perfect match. But on occasion, we'll need to send you to 2 or even 3 different peer boards to interview with until you find the one that A, wants you to join them, and B, you want to join. We don't force members of a peer board to work with you. They get to choose, they get to vote. Not even our staff person who's the facilitator, the peer board leader, can vote. So it's the member that has the ultimate power of who gets to be in their peer board. And that's a majority vote. And so the boards discuss it very well when they see a candidate to join them. Do we want this person? Can they add value to us? Can we add value to them? Do we feel we can trust the person? And then after the interview, we tell you if you are admitted, and that's when you can make a decision to join that peer board and become a part of Leading Peers. So it's only at that point where you've already met the people, you've already imagined what it would be like to work with them, that you have to make your first month's payment and sign our membership agreement so that you can then go to their peer board meeting the following month.
That's excellent. And just a little question: it's 8 leading 8 peer boards and plus the facilitator.
That's right. 8 members and a peer board leader. That's the limit.
And is there anything else you would like to share about leading peers or any final thoughts for the audience?
We'd love to have any CEO that meets our eligibility criteria. So if you've just started your company, you've never had a company before, you might not be eligible just yet. Our website has the eligibility criteria, but I'll explain it very quickly. You qualify for life if you at some point in your past were the CEO of a company with an annual revenue of over $1 million. And I know a lot of people say, I've never had over $1 million of revenue in my business. So there's another way to qualify, which is if you are currently the CEO of a company that has at least $200,000 of revenue in the last 12 months. So a lot of the smaller business, CEOs that we have, they tend to meet this eligibility criteria right here. They're doing $250,000 or $300,000 of revenue in the last 12 months. Anything above $200,000 makes them eligible. Now, does that mean that every peer board of ours is going to be perfect for them? No. There's going to be peer boards that are going to say, no, this business might be a little small. They don't really fit in here. So that's the matching that we do once we know, where are you at? And revenue is a good proxy for us, a good indication of how many clients you've created, of how big your team is, and the types of issues and challenges that you are dealing with. And, in some of our peer boards, the average revenue is $500,000. In other peer boards of ours, the average revenue is $8 million. So we don't just look at putting you in a peer board that you can get to their meetings, whether they be online or in person. We look for there not being competitors of yours in the room, and we look for you being in a stage of your business that matches what you're going to have around. Somebody who brings a lot of value could say they're a business lawyer, for instance, or a business broker, and they're smaller than the rest of the people on the peer board, but the peer board wants them because it's great to have a business lawyer here, or it's great to have somebody who's a fractional CFO here because I get to have their expertise, which is so relevant to all of us. Sometimes you can have those people in peer boards where the average revenue is greater than their own because of that value that they contribute. Somebody who's great in IT or in marketing can have a smaller company but add a lot of value to the members of the peer board. So we look for that to work out so that it's a great experience for everybody. Ultimately, we want everybody to feel like if I had to pick the right people to open up to every single month, and for them to know all my wins, all my challenges, I have them. And that takes a lot of work, that mixing and matching of people. So it's a collaboration where we vet the candidates that send us their interview sign-up form to send them to the right interview. And then we give everybody in that board the final say along with the candidate of, do you want to work together?
If there's a match.
There's a match. And once you join Leading Peers, if you evolve to the point where you need to leave a peer board and go to another because you feel you've outgrown your current peer board, or maybe you've pivoted and now you have a competitor in the room, you can definitely transition to a different peer board, and you can only have one peer board at a time. So if you transition, you leave the peer board you're in to go to another one, And you can still access all of our networks, which are affinity groups that have a common interest. And those are very different. They don't meet once a month. They just have like a group chat where they're constantly in communication and exchanging things through a digital format. So that's the main thing I would say to anybody who's interested. Go to our website. If you love what we're doing, go straight to the interview sign-up form so we know more about you and we can set up that interview. We'll probably have a conversation with you before we send you to the interview sign-up form if we see that that's necessary, that we don't know you well enough, that we want to pick up on some other things that the interview sign-up form didn't have. If you're super explicit about what's there and how you found out about us, we might just go straight to setting up the interview for you. And that's what I would urge people to do rather than just the contact us form, because we get a lot of people who want to contact us to sell us things. But when we get an interview sign-up form, we know this is a CEO, they're interested in joining us. They want to know how we can best match them with the right people, the right resources. And maybe they just want to talk with us and learn a little bit more than what they're seeing in the website. Maybe they have a question that they haven't been able to get clarity on through the website. So, that allows them to also ask us for a call. And
let me add that I know many people that are part of the Leading Peers, and all of them are happy, very happy. They are super blessed because they feel they changed their lives in a way, their entrepreneurial and also personal life, because that's the way they not only know better. Well, all you said about the Leading Peers features or good things about it, and they are very happy and they want to continue. They are very excited to go to the board. So I think it's a great thing that you're doing, not only in the entrepreneurial side, but also what it gives, what the value provides. And this is a little bit what I try to do with this podcast, provide a little value for people, bringing people like you and many other CEOs or entrepreneurs or marketing experts, so we can give value to the community. So I'm very thankful for having you. Thank you. It was great talking to you, and see you in the next episode.
Thank you for having me, Valentino, and all the best.